anxiously walking around an empty, circular prison floor, trapped in the middle of an oblivion. Having encountered many messed up things until this point, nothing compares to the horror of Silent Hill's most disturbing entities. Just around the corner though, a creature can be seen in the darkness, choosing not to attack unless we get too close. It's just pointing back at us. Ignoring it and eventually making our descent, a self-confessed nightmare materializes itself when the previously claustrophobic boiler room houses whatever this is. This is what it feels like when the teacher asks me a question in class. The twin victims, or the double heads, are a large conjoined enemy first encountered in the aforementioned water prison, sharing a disgustingly pale and bleak expression, as if the monster was already lifeless although visibly animated. The most intelligent monster in the series, evident by its coherent gestures and occasional speech. Eyes closed, adult hands they've adopted as their new legs, and a distinctive headscarf that matches their coat. These features are applicable with another enemy nearing the end of the game, known as Bottoms, the relevance of which I hope to answer in this video as we explore the lore of this monster, the mysteries surrounding it, its history, and its connection to Silent Hill 4's story. As per the name, twin victims are correlated with the 7th and 8th victims of Walter Sullivan's 10 heart sacraments, the first round of killings citing his preference for removing a victim's heart after murdering them, before he was eventually arrested, subsequently sacrificing himself as the 11th sacrament. These two children were named Billy and Miriam Locane. They were twin brothers and sisters and residents of Silent Hill. Miriam liked to make cookies and Billy liked to play baseball. These two had a very close relationship and were playing outside their family home at the time of their murder. Judging by their age, they were most likely students of Midwich Elementary School. Billy was attacked once with an axe first, before Walter turned his focus on Miriam. Unlike Billy, who was killed with a single blow from an axe, Walter Sullivan brutally dismembered Miriam's body before removing her heart. While her father stood standing at the dead body of his son Billy, her panicked mother came out of the house and saw something even more horrible. Miriam's body was lying on the street. Miriam had been killed the same way as Billy, but her body had been even more brutalized, because all her mother could find was part of Miriam's body. All of Walter's victims leave an offering behind that is revealed to be significant to the nightmare, the worlds that Henry navigates throughout Silent Hill 4 that are fueled by aspects of Walter's trauma, his close memories, and fears, all contributing collectively. In the case of Billy and Miriam, these were his shoes and her hair respectively, meaning the only part of her body that her mother found was her hair. In Silent Hill 2, we can read the murder incident article as James in the garbage chute. We find out that Walter was arrested for the murder of these children. This hair aided in his capture. Unfortunately, during the time it took the police to hunt him down, he was still able to flee back to Ashfield and fulfill Sacraments 9 and 10, William Gregory and Eric Walsh. The result of such horrific and scarring murders had such an effect on everyone involved, including Walter, that the twin victims have become fused together in a deformed state, possibly symbolizing Walter's delusions regarding his collection of events with this particular crime. Also, they are the only manifestations of the 21 sacraments that aren't ghosts. I have a theory for why this occurs, but please let me know what you think. When Walter was 16 years old, he would make trips to Ashfield in the 1980s, finding himself on the streets without any money or family. At the time, he was still living at the Wish House orphanage near Silent Hill. One day, a young girl called Eileen approached him and handed him a doll. This doll had white skin and dark hair. Fast forward 18 years later, he hands what is now the shabby doll to us.
I got this from Miss Galvin. A long time ago. She was younger than me back then. She looked so happy, holding her mother's hand. Here, I'll give it to you.
The doll has now become worn from Walter treasuring it for most of his life. We don't know what Miriam would have looked like, but it's likely that they share similarities because of the twin victim's skin texture and headscarf matching that of the doll. because the only genuine act of kindness Walter ever received was from a little girl, I think that this doll would have slowly mirrored the girl of Eileen's age that he killed so viciously in a violent act of misogyny. It portrays the Locane twins' deaths as physical manifestations instead of ghosts, brought forth by their cognitive effect on him and his most sentimental physical possession in the doll. This may also be a deep dive, but we can assume that the influence of this murder was so extraordinarily powerful in Silent Hill that even James and Maria know about it through the events of Silent Hill 2, not only by this article but by the elevator quiz, which isn't real in any way.
Okay, quickly, on to question number 2. Silent Hill witnessed a gruesome murder a few years back. A brother and sister were playing in the road when they were attacked and chopped into pieces with an axe. Torn flesh, smashed bones, splattered blood, and finally, bitter tears. What a terrible tragedy. What a gruesome end to such innocent lives. Now the question, what was the name of the murderer who committed this vile act?
What was that?
It's the only thing in Silent Hill 2 that's disconnected from James's psyche and the story, because the twin victims' presence has infiltrated. The bodies of Billy and Miriam were probably rushed to Brookhaven Hospital for the sequence to have occurred. The other questions are about Nathan Avenue and the amusement park. Nathan Avenue being the road that Walter fled from after killing the twins, back into Ashfield where William and Eric worked. And the amusement park is depressing to think about. Like most children, it's where the twins considered their special place. During this monster's bad manners and acts of self-defense, it will occasionally speak receiver of at Henry. And with many interpretations of what this actually means, by scrolling down the list of the 21 sacraments, we can actually finalize this sentence. As the current occupant of room 302 and last on the list, we are the receiver of wisdom. I don't understand how the twin victims know about Walter's list. The only other non-hostile and intelligent victim was Joseph, the ghost that places the mysterious red notes under the door. But this makes sense though, because he was an investigative journalist and former resident of room 302, previously exploring Walter's other worlds much like ourselves through a hole in the bathroom. Unfortunately, he was never able to escape. My only theory is that Walter's mind was absorbed during the twins' reincarnation. The attachment that Walter has towards his mother is represented through the figure of this monster. It's also implied through the close relationship that the twins had before their death, and that they were the only two sacraments killed right next to each other and at the same time. Even if they weren't conjoined at birth, they were extremely close. Okay, so here's the big question. Why are there 1,000 of them in the boiler room? It seems too deliberate for a gank. Is there a deeper meaning behind this family of twin victims, all confined within this undiscerning boiler room beneath the prison? As a child of the Wish House orphanage, Walter would frequently stay in this facility as punishment, despite his good reading as mentioned in his diary entry. It was used to correct troubled orphans such as Walter who misbehaved, or were otherwise selectively despised by the prison staff or caretakers at the orphanage. Andrew DeSalvo worked as a prison guard there before being killed by Walter in death as the 18th sacrament, although nervous and pleading for his life when encountered by Henry.
He's gonna kill me! Walter's gonna kill me! He's gonna kill me!
18 years ago, he abused Walter along with other inmates of the Wish House orphanage. Disgustingly, confirmation of these atrocities are found throughout the water prison where the twin victims are first encountered. It's very obvious that the symbolism of Walter's childhood traumas are pronounced here. The boiler room in particular must have been a place where many children were hurt by the hands of Andrew DeSalvo and others, including Walter. As far gone as he is in death, the only children that he remembers fondly are Miriam and Billy. That's why the apparitions of dead children are consistent with this lone, horrific monster. The adult features of this monster are primarily their arms, which they used to walk with. This could be relating to the sense of constraint that the children of the water prison felt in their cells, limited to free movement only when forced down a flight of stairs to their torture by the adult guards. The menacing point is both an imitation of childhood oppression, unfair punishment, and selective enforcement, as well as a literal act of fascination, childhood curiosity, and Walter's fixation on Henry, room 302, and his mother, who abandoned him at birth. So we have a backstory on why the twin victims were manifested in this manner, but there's still the bottoms that are only encountered upon a return to the apartment buildings. They also have adult arms and a similar body to the twins. They're essentially another variant, only they are now more distorted, the imagery lacking substance and variety, just resembling a vile mass of flesh. The somewhat cute black attire is gone. This thing is no longer associated with Billy, Miriam, or Aline's doll in any way whatsoever. However, the symbolism concerning Walter's childhood and his forgetfulness around his parents' identities are still the driving forces that go into materializing such a disgusting insult to existence. It's believed that the two growths at the top are vaguely mimicking human heads, but because Walter has no clue what his parents looked like, his brain could only subliminally create a departed collection of images that lack any real humanistic configuration. His extreme hatred for these people and preference for accepting room 302 as his adoptive mother instead, because it never abandoned him, speak to its appearance even more. The fact that they are only seen near room 302 creates a dynamic where his biological parents are only relevant to him at all because it's near where he was born, in the bathroom with the hole. Obviously, the face at the bottom is Walter during birth. This is what the name means. Again, no legs of his own, relying on his parents for everything including movement which he wasn't granted. Instead, he was left on the living room floor where James's dad found him.
Is anybody home?
The twin victims are the most disturbing enemy in any horror game. Their first encounter in a grimy water prison while we aimlessly wander around in circles, not knowing what's around the corner. The dampness from the water dripping off the pipes. The leeches growing to abnormal sizes and shaking the access water off uncontrollably. From the other side of the cell block, the twins will still notice our presence and proceed to point at us directly through the wall. The twins are remembered for their tragic passing, but also for continuing to scare anyone who plays Silent Hill 4 to this day.